I played 25 games of Blitz survival games on Hypixel in 2026, and here's what happened. This was a very interesting little experiment that I decided to conduct in a game that I used to know life in 2022 and 23. This was all that I played. I haven't really played it much since September of 2023. I quit around then just because, for my own mental health and sanity, I needed to do that, and it was a very good call. But for this one, for this video, I played 25 more games just to see how things were and had the game improved at all and that sort of deal. So I did decide to use level 10 kits that I had, including my Archer P2, things like Scout and other kits, like even the random kit during Blitz Hour a couple times, and Blaze, Diver, Paladin, all of these kits that I had at level 10. So it's not really like a new player's experience, it's more of like returning player plays 25 games. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the first game. The first game here was on Ruins, a map that I really like a lot and consider to be top 3 maps in the game. Knowing this, and knowing that it's a high chest map, I played my Archer Prestige 2 kit, as that allows me to really dominate with my Power 2 bow if I can hit my shots. The game had 9 players, which is pretty small, but that allowed me to get a lot of good armor from spawn, and I got max blitz armor pretty quick. From there, I went around trying to get a weapon and a rod, and I came across this toxic Luigi fan guy scrapping with these other 2 guys in the back of the map. Now, it could just be me, but it looked like he was getting very weird hits on these other guys. At the time, Hypixel had just updated their knockback, and it was absolutely awful if you ask me. Not that what it was before was much better, but still. Anyway, I'm not well versed enough in Hypixel PvP to know if this guy was cheating or not, but it certainly looked like it, and the guy did say that he was an alt of someone who I'd vaguely known from before to be a cheater, but again, it's been 2 years. I start shooting at him because I still need a rod, and he has one, not to mention I don't want to melee a guy I think is cheating. He goes all in on this random armorer dude who runs for a bit but ultimately dies, and he's got a phoenix bow, so I need to not get hit with the flame. Eventually, I run back and fight this other guy who does end up having a rod, which is pretty good for me, and from there, I run back to spawn to enchant my stone sword, and I actually end up getting Bane of Arthropods. That's very interesting, because back when I played, you were guaranteed to get sharp 1 on any wooden, gold, or stone sword you enchanted if it was a level 1 enchant. It was just iron and diamond that had a chance of getting anything else. At any rate, Fishy Hits guy comes back and drinks a speed pot, which in Blitz is code for you're gonna fucking die because of how OP speed is, and I somehow managed to get away and live till DM, but from there, I'm low and the guy is right up on me with his speed, so it's pretty much sealed from there. He gets this super long hit and gets a flame shot, and after I die, I stick around to see if he's really cheating, and the way his head moved gave me that indication, but again, the KB had just been changed, so I can't be sure. Either way, Game 1 ended as a 1-kill death to what was likely a cheater. Game 2 was on Docks v1, and Docks is not a map I like playing. I usually dodge it, but I can run my Diver 10 kit and see success sometimes. Not this time though. By the time I even got into the water, everyone was dead, so I went to DM without a rod, since Docks is a low chest map, and that pretty much means you're completely fried. I did actually get the chance to get sharp 1 on my stone sword this time around, as well as a speed pot, so I could technically have a shot, but I was against the same guy again, and although this time his hits didn't feel cheaty, I didn't have a rod and it was sealed from there. I could have actually outbowed him despite having an unenchanted bow, but my internet decided to have a moment, so that dream was dead. Game 2 ended as a 0-kill death. Game 3 was on Proxima, and I do like Proxima quite a bit. It's a high chest map, so I find it good pretty much. Went Archer again here, getting more used to the new knockback, and picked up a good few kills. Problem was, the last guy was running Scout, and the Proxima DM is an absolute nightmare to fight in. Scout is the hard counter to Archer because it gives 20-second speed 2 pots, as well as 10-second regen 2 pots, and slowness 2 splash pots, which allows the Scout to full charge at me so I can't bow them, and if I do, they can back up and heal it all off anyway. Tried my best, but his kit was all about outlasting me, and I was pinned down. I definitely could have beat him if we were on even ground and /or he didn't have the regen pots. I could have fought him with speed and been fine, but it came down to healing and that was that. Game 3 ended as a 3-kill death. Game 4 was on Caleum, and this game is actually a full fill, even though it was a 12-player game. I generally don't like playing on Caleum because it's basically just glorified Skywars. I know that's a hot take, but nevertheless, I queued up and played. Decided to go Farmer here, which ended up being a good idea because that kit gives me a good sword and a good bottom half of armor, and I found a good top half in my chests. My first kill was on this guy over on the lava island, and he didn't hit me, I guess. Either way, I needed a bow from him, and that was what I got. From there, I ran back to spawn and got the kill on the second guy, and that didn't take much effort either. And after that came DM, and the last guy was actually a Prestige Wolf Tamer, which was interesting since that kit gives Prot 4 diamond boots, but I made quick work of him too after spawning my chickens. Those chickens can make games so annoying to play, but other times the eggs are really good at stalling out people with more gear, as well as functioning as a rod if you don't have one. I ended Game 4 with my first win of the video, and with 3 kills at that. Game 5 was played on Cthulhu Island, and Cthulhu is likely the most hated map in the game because it's so huge and there's water everywhere and no one likes playing it. I went Farmer again for this map because despite its size there are very few chests, and I knew I would need the gear from my kit to be able to compete. Because of the map's shittiness, I went to a part of the map that I knew would have some stuff and a good few chests, like 6 to 8 chests, something like that, but ultimately I got nothing good out of it. Literally nothing. I mean, if I was running Warrior Kit, which gives an iron chestplate and boots, it would have been fine, but there was just nothing good in those few chests. Eventually I come across this Rooster guy who's running Paladin, and that kit would complete my armor set. So I chase him and go for the fight, expecting to win the trade, but because of the knockback and the lag, and probably the shittiness of the map too, let's be real, I ended up dying in Game 5 with 0 kills. I'll be dodging this one from now on like I normally do because this map is really that terrible. Game 6 is played on Woodlands, and Woodlands might be my favorite map in the pool. It's small, there's a lot of chests, and there's fewer players. I went scout on this map because of all that, figuring I could at least get some good gear out of chests like usual, but nope. I spent most of the game scrounging around trying to find a chestplate and pants that were better than gold, as well as a stone sword, while this Dala guy got fed all the kills and gear. I finally find this Creeper Tamer 9 who I'm able to kill pretty quickly, and I take his stuff, which helps me a bunch since I finally got that chestplate, but after I don't get the Blitz star, it's kind of just over from there. I don't have the gear to compete, and this other guy at this point has killed not 1 but 2 max scouts, so he is not running out of speed anytime soon, and we get to DM, and he's just outgearing me to hell, and there's nothing I can really do. He got luckier than me, and that's all it came down to. Game 6 ended as a 1-kill death. Game 7 was played on Shogun, and scratch all that, Shogun is my favorite map in the pool. This map is super fun, and I played Scout again just so I could have the speed I needed to catch up to people and overpower them. I picked up a quick kill on this naked guy with a sword trying to backstab me during the resistance period, which is good because there's only 6 people in this game for some reason. Just goes to show how dead Blitz is, right? Anyway, after that, I get a gold chestplate out of a chest and enchant my sword for sharp 1. From there, I kill this guy who pre-gaps, but still kind of just falls over, so that's a dub for me. Pretty quick after that, I run into this guy at spawn who's actually running Wolf Tamer 10, and that kit gives Prot 4 diamond boots, so I definitely want those for myself. I'm able to get some pretty good quick hits on him, but after that, he really doesn't want to fight anymore, so he takes off running. And he runs some more. Somewhere in there, I remember I'm playing Scout, so I drink one of my 20-second speed pots, and that allows me to kind of catch up to him, even though he's still running me back a bunch. I get him cornered here and pick him off, getting me those sweet Prot 4 diamond boots. At this point, it's down to me and the last guy, who I assume was running Archer 10, but, I mean, it's me, so I shred him in bow, and finish him off with my sword for a 3-kill dub in Game 7. In Game 8, we played on Woodlands again, and I never pass up a Woodlands game because it really is a good and fun map most of the time. After Game 6, and knowing how long it took me to find adequate gear, I decided to run Warrior for a sharp 1 stone sword and an iron chestplate and boots. This seems to be working somewhat well. I do find a gapple, but of course this time I can't find a good helmet or any better pants than gold again. I drop down after the Zareth guy since he has the gear I need. He runs into this bald like Bezos dude who's running Troll 10, and if it's one thing I know about Troll 10, it's that the damn witch spawn egg that kit gives is a bitch to kill, and I want it either dead or for myself, so I try to kill him instead. I'm doing well in the fight and get him to half a heart, and then hypixel hit detection does what it does best, and I stop being able to hit the dude back and I die. Sorry about the encoding lag, it just kind of happens sometimes, and I know you couldn't really see the interaction too well, but it's still very obvious what happens. I'm comboing the dude, I am well within range, I'm in the advantageous position, but the server tells me, nah, I'm turning your hits off and you're dying here. Sorry, hope you decide to log in again within the next couple weeks, except that I decided fuck that, I'm not playing a game where that's a thing, and remember why I don't play 1.8 SG servers. Game 8 ended as a 0-kill death. Game 9 was played on Moonbase, and all of a sudden it's January 29th and 4 months have passed. As was probably expected, I was very rusty and my chest loot ended up being quite bad as I did not find a chest plate or a rod. I went Archer on this map since I know there's a lot of chests and my kit doesn't give me much gear, but the chest loot definitely hoed me pretty bad, and a guy running Scout 10, my hard counter, came up to the tower looking thing stacked to the absolute teeth, and in my rusty state I could not get the job done. Hard countered in my first game back where I also got bad chest loot. If that doesn't sum up the Blitz experience, I don't know what does. Game 9 ended as a 0-kill death. Game 10 was played on Riverside, and that fortunately went much better. Back in the day, I sorted all the Blitz maps into low chest or high chest maps, but there were a few like Riverside that were kinda in the middle. Regardless though, it wasn't a high chest map necessarily, so I ran Farmer here and that ended up paying off. It took me a while to find much of anything, I didn't find a chest plate at all this game, but my kit was fortunately enough to get me by. My first fight was against this guy who did have a good chest plate for me, and I was able to beat him with the eggs and the iron sword that my kit gives me. Then, like a whole train of people came through trying to clean me. First was this warrior 8 who was very laggy and got some good hits on me, but I killed him quick, and then what might have actually been a team of 2 came in to try and clean after that. I got pretty low, but took them out just as well. From there, it was down to me, some random guy, and Yaherd, an old friend of mine. Herd's been pretty active over the years, so I wasn't sure how this one was going to go, but let me tell you, fighting a donkey tamer on Riverside's TM is actually a nightmare. After I killed the other guy, I could never get a hit on his donkey, but I got enough shots on him to get him low enough to where I could eventually kill his donkey. We bowed for a little bit, I got the upper hand, and eventually was able to finish him off with a speed 2-pot, sealing the dub in Game 10 with 6 kills and my best performance of the video so far. Pixelville. This is a very large map with a maximum of 32 players, and really does not have all that many chests on it, so I went Ranger 10 to get myself some extra gear as a cushion. That kind of paid off since I got plenty of gear from the chests that I did open, which included chain pants, but after I found a helmet and a sword, I was pretty set up for a strong showing. The game kind of meandered for a bit. I did get a kill on this guy in a house, but after that it came time to contest for the Blitz star. I was able to keep Scout Tactics out of spawn, and Gaming Vettel went after a nicked player with the diamond boots, so the rest of the game for the most part was pretty occupied. It took me a good while, but I did eventually find the star, and something I like to do is use the Ragnarok Blitz to set everyone's max HP to 7.5 hearts. That gives me a major advantage as a ranger with the punch bow in DM. And as I'd find out, it was an advantage I needed. I hunted down this Kev guy and killed him, but Vettel stole most of the good gear. Not that I think he had much good gear, but I mean, he still ran off with a diamond helmet. Once we got to DM though, it was a smaller arena with more cover, which would hinder me a bit, but then I got the typical Blitz DM experience. The 2 other guys who were stacked enough in their own right both started targeting me, making sure I stayed in the middle between them. On the one hand, sure, I did have higher max HP than them, but on an arena like this, my only hope was my punch bow. I certainly had the arrows to deal with it though, and after I stalled for a good while, the border started to close in. That's when Ranger really shines. Even against these 2 guys who were not exactly teamed, but not exactly focused on each other, the punch bow allowed me to keep them in the border and taking constant damage from it. That gave me a stressful but well-earned W in Game 11, scoring 4 kills. Peaks is another map where Ranger is quite good. It's certainly a low chest map, and the buffer that Ranger gives with its gear was quite helpful. At any rate, this game was not at all one that I was proud of. Most of it was lost to encoding lag, but I was able to capture the deathmatch part of it, and I'm gonna ask y'all not to hate me for this. There were these 2 Shadow Knights who gotten most of the kills, and I'd rather not get blinded by their potions, so I just hid in the corner and let them fight. Once we get past the 3-minute mark before the game ends, Rangers kind of have free reign as long as they don't overcommit, and avoiding an overcommitment was exactly what I ended up doing. They fought each other for most of it, not knowing I was Ranger, and I kind of just bowed them both into the border and sealed it up pretty easily, hitting some bow tricks on the last guy. Only got 1 kill though, so... Well, my little winning streak came to an end in Game 13 on Pixelville. It started off okay, but nobody ever wanted to fight, and every time I'd move towards someone, they'd just run away. I also never found a chestplate, which sucked, because then I could have actually fought Donzi here toward the end, but since I was severely outgeared, there was nothing I could have done, and eventually just ended up getting shot off this platform by the guy who had the Blitz star. He tried to gremlin Donzi, but it backfired, and he ended up getting killed, so Donzi probably won that game, and given how bad I hoed him in Game 12, he deserved some luck on his side. Game 13 ended as a 0-kill death. Game 14 played on Shogun again. This game honestly started off really well. Even though I didn't have much gear, I did manage to roll over an Archer 6, and later this pretty stacked guy for his chestplate. With the gear I had from all of that, I had the healing to win, I had the offense to win with the speed and sharp one-stun sword, and I had the armor to tank, and take the depth with that. Problem was, by the time I'd finished with that, this nicked player found the star in his first chest back at spawn, and after he got another kill, he gremlined me to clear my inventory with 30 seconds left until deathmatch. I'd just thrown out a few useful items, so I at least had those, but realistically there was nothing I was going to be able to do against a nick with a flame bow and just as much gear as I'd had before the gremlin. This will mark my first game in this video losing completely because of the Blitz star, the biggest reason why I recommend against ever getting into Blitz. Not because of the grindy kits or the broken mechanics those have, but because the Blitz star is just an I win button based entirely on luck. Game 14 ended as a 2-kill death. 15 was on Riverside again, and I decided to go Blaze here since I hadn't yet, and because in the last 2 games I had not found a single chestplate, despite one map being really big and the other having chests all over the place. The game is going alright, I got a couple quick kills, but I hadn't found any pants the whole game because of course this was the game that I found a chestplate but no pants, but then this super stacked guy got me to like no health, and it was really a miracle I survived. From there, I figured I had a chance. There was this archer that I'd seen earlier, and if I could kill them, I could still win the game just with bowing alone, so I killed them after seeing they were low. Problem was, I instantly got cleaned by this guy who was hitting really fast, and that already sucked because I was low and in a bad position. Either way though, Game 15 ended as a 3-kill death. Game 16 was played on Gulch, and Gulch can be a pretty fun map to play on. I decided to run the random kit option for this game since it was Blitz hour just to see what I'd get, and I ended up getting Baker, which is kinda interesting, but not really all that great. It actually could have been a very good game for me in terms of healing since I had the capacity to get 3 gapples, but a defining feature of Gulch is the fact that there isn't a crafting table, so when I got 8 gold out of a chest early on, I felt like I was being trolled. Anyway, I got these 2 back-to-back kills. The first was on a night one, but the second was on someone who'd gotten Red Dragon, which is a very interesting kit to play since it's the only one in the game that gives a flint and steel, and I do enjoy using flint and steel. From there, it was down to 4 people, including myself, and I wanted to kill one of them early so that the star wouldn't come out, as that was the only way I saw myself losing this game. But everyone ran from me, and when it came time for the star to drop, 2 people were bowing at me, and this nicked player ended up getting the star. He killed one guy and then beelined to where I was hiding, and then used stasis so I couldn't escape. I might have been able to kill him if I could have gotten away, but the stasis made that impossible. He really was not taking a whole lot of knockback either, so Game 16 ended as a 2-kill death to a Nick who had about even odds of being a cheater that also used the star to kill me. Talk about getting Mario Karted. Game 17 was played on Persia, and interestingly, this was not a Blitz hour lobby despite it being in the 5 PM time slot, so I ended up just running Paladin for this game. I did not expect this game to actually go as well as it did though, but the DM did stress me out a ton. I got a good few kills early on, including one on this farmer who got me kitted out in full iron, as well as giving me another iron sword to combine with my own to try to get a sharp 1 iron. Having a 7 damage weapon is really good, and I lucked out by getting sharp 1, unbreaking 1, and knockback 1 all on the same sword with a level 1 enchant. Knockback is actually quite good in Blitz, so I was excited about that. At one point in the game, this guy just dropped right out of the sky to come fight near mid, and he was taking like no knockback, so I had to be careful, but I did end up killing him. Yaherd got the star and used roulette, which is always really stressful, but it killed someone else and the DM timer started. Once we got to DM, it was me, Yaherd, and the Shadow Knight, but since I'd spawned that farmer's chickens before getting a rod, there were now like 20 stacks of eggs between the 3 of us. I had most of them, but it was still going to be super AIDS to do much of anything on this map with a staircase. I wish I'd gone Ranger here actually, because this DM is a free win with that kit, but the eggs were still helpful. After a minute-long egg-throwing war, I snatched a kill on the Shadow Knight for some extra regen since I'd gotten pretty low and had to use my Paladin pots earlier on, and from there I was able to somehow bring back the melee exchange despite half my hits, and also half my rods not registering. Game 17 ended as a 6-kill win. Woodlands games mean I run Scout and pray my hit detection works normally. For most of this one though, my chest loot was absolutely horrendous. I barely was able to find a helmet, and of course, in my typical fashion, didn't find a chest plate or a rod for most of the game either. I eventually was able to kill Soyo Mars here with my speed, but his inventory was so chock full of random shit that I missed out on a lot of the stuff I needed. Something y'all should know about me. I like to keep a clean inventory specifically because of people like this that just have everything in the game on them, and if I need to be running away from somebody else and I pick up a quick kill, I need to get all their gear, and keeping a clean inventory is going to be helpful with that. But with this guy, I mean, his inventory was full of just nonsensical, just everything, and it sucked, so I missed out on a ton of stuff. From there, it was down to me, a random Diver 10, and Cryonics. I was more focused on Cryonics in Deathmatch, trying to use my speed to the best of my ability, and although I had a lot of healing with the regeneration pots, it paled in comparison to his resistance pots and multiple gapples from killing some Baker earlier on. Eventually, it kind of just came down to Cryonics sweating his absolute crack off to win this game. He also had a lot of speed, and I'm not sure where he got it from, but in the end, I was up against someone who cared a lot more about the game than I did, and that's never a winning recipe. Game 18 ended as a 1-kill death. Game 19 on Docks V2. I went Diver again here since it's basically Docks V1, but a bit bigger, I think. I really don't know all of the differences between V1 and V2, if I'm honest. Anyway, my chest loot was pretty bad, as it normally is on this map, but I'd at least gotten a rod, so surely that would help me, right? Turns out the first fight I went for was against this dude who was teleporting around, completely unfightable. He always seemed to lag into advantageous positions, and magically after killing me, he stopped lagging entirely. Incredible. Game 19 ended as a 0-kill death to a fake lagger. Game 20 was played on Winter, and Winter is a map that I put in E tier back in the day, and I maintain that position now. This map is terrible, and there are so few chests, so I went Ranger, but in this game there are these two Nick players getting a ton of kills in quick succession, and whenever you see that, you know you're in for the fight of your life. 90% of the time it means you're getting hacked on, and the 10% of the time they're not cheating, they're playing like they just took a handful of perk 30s all at once, and they're gonna rod 15 times between every hit. That's what happened here. The first Nick who had gotten more kills came after me, and my hands were honestly pretty cold playing this one, so I couldn't fight back as well. That would have been all well and good until the other Nick came in on a donkey and started hitting me as well. That continued on for a little bit. I tried running and bowing with my punch bow, but ultimately I was not going to get away from the donkey tamer unless I killed the donkey, and I was pretty low by that point from them targeting me and not going for each other at all. Eventually, I ended up dying with 0 kills, and the two Nicks did not so much as swing at each other until after I was dead, and our whole interaction lasted nearly a minute, so they had ample time to at least pretend to fight each other. Game 21 was played on Hani, and this is another low chest map, so I went Warrior here to get myself some solid gear pieces for the rest of the game. This one was unfortunately extremely annoying. Most of my game was spent chasing down this one Meatmaster 10 because he didn't have a good chestplate or pants, and I really needed his Prop 4 helmet if I wanted to seal the victory. He ran for about 2-ish minutes out of the 6-minute game, which was pretty AIDS to deal with, but I did end up securing the kill while 90CA got the Blitz star and starred someone else. In DM, the theme of people running forever continued with the first guy trying to get away with his speed 2 pots, but I got him pretty quick, which was nice. The last guy who I'd actually gotten hits on before DM, but then of course he ran for the 30 seconds leading up to DM, tried running away again, but I caught up to him with the speed pots that I'd gotten from 90CA. That allowed me to seal the dub with 3 kills, netting me another good win here. Back on Gulch for game 22, I decided to run Farmer for the year in utility, and I figured I could maybe get a second win in a row. Who knows? This one was mostly uneventful. I honestly got really good gear out of the chest that I opened with an iron chestplate and helmet, and of course got the Gulch curse again when I pulled 2 iron ingots from chests, knowing I couldn't craft a clean iron sword to try for a 7 damage weapon. I got this nutty kill on a scout, not sure how I killed him, but the extra gear I had came in clutch since I was extremely low after the fight. His potions were going to be a big game changer going into the end game, and when it came time to contest the star, I had most of mid covered, but this one guy comes through and nabs the star out of his second chest, which just goes to show how luck-based Blitz really is. I knew to get the hell out of there ASAP, or I'd get starred, and even though he didn't use it, just the fact that he could have not turned off rip and steamrolled me scared me enough to back out. By the time we got to DM, I'd managed to get 3 apples, as well as one of that scout's regen pots, so I was pretty set in terms of healing, and I did need all 3 apples. I went for this Ninja Master guy, and his hits were absolutely insane. He got every single double hit, and that set me back a good bit, since his sword was pretty good too. I ate my gapples and was able to get the kill, but the guy who got the star from earlier came in right afterward to clean up. I backed out well enough, didn't play at my best since my hands were cold, but I did end up taking them out, sealing the dub in Game 22. Game 23 was played on City, and this one was rather unfortunate. I went Paladin here because, as it turns out, the fake lagger from Game 19 turned out to actually be a bee-hopper. Terrific. As fate would have it, I ended up close to him and had to take refuge in this swimming pool for most of the game, and never ended up finding a rod as a result, since City is a low chest map that's also incredibly small. After the Hopper wiped out the rest of the game, the Marathoner from Game 21 ended up getting the kill with his horse, and by that point he had Hopper loot, and that meant 3/4 diamond, speed pots, Paladin pots, and of course a rod. So, naturally, Game 23 got ruined by a bee hopper, even though I didn't end up dying to him. I stopped queuing for the day since I'd seen him twice, and decided to pick it back up the next day. Game 23 ended as a 0-kill death. This game on Caleum was pure chaos incarnate. I got a wood sword out of my starter chest, but like half the game went off to the lava area, and I had like a train of people all behind me. The game was going fine enough. I one-tapped a guy off the edge and had honestly pretty decent gear before getting my warrior kit, but then after I knocked this other guy off, who took a while to get knocked off, I was reminded why Caleum is my least favorite map in the entire pool, and I will stand on that forever. Game 24 ended as a 2-kill death. Game 25 was on seafloor, and thank God we're at the last game. Decided to run Archer P2 to cap this off since it was a high chest map, and that's been my main kit forever. Anyway, I immediately started getting killed off spawn by this guy with a wood sword, but I eventually turned back on him since I had a stone axe, and picked him off pretty fast. That being said, after a quick run-in with a guy charging at me with speed 2 and the prestige taunt, I knew I had to find a stone sword or my game was fried. Dear viewer, it took another minute and a half of digging through every chest I saw to actually find one, while the whole rest of the game was dying around me, but find one I sure did, and got sharp 1 on it back at spawn. Bran, the Marathoner from Game 21, ended up finding the star and used it to kill the prestige taunt guy from earlier, who had quite a bit of stuff. When it came time for me to fight him though, I saw that he'd gotten his hands on half diamond and a sharp 1 diamond sword, and I also knew he was Phoenix from seeing his gear before the star dropped. Being Archer, I was the best equipped kit for dealing with threats of this caliber, but the server was lagging and I instead opted for just knocking him off this hill into another guy, which worked. I then had to kill the other guy before he got giga stacked, which I pulled off with the help of a 10-second speed pod I'd found. And from there, of course, I had to sift through 2 loot piles, which is also how I found out there were 2 sharp 1 diamond swords, as well as a sharp 1 iron, but I got one of the diamond swords and the chest plate, which allowed me to take out this nicked player, who got a couple nicked player hits, but ultimately wasn't a problem because I cut through them like butter. From there, it was just this last undergeared guy, and I hit him with a flame shot before rod tricking him to death. I mean, the poor guy never stood a chance against that kind of gear. Got the good ending in Game 25 with 4 kills. Well, after these 25 games, I can safely say that Blitz is just as fun as it used to be. Of course, that means very little fun at all, given the cheater problem, as well as a lot of broken stuff being in the game. And I'm also pretty sure I died because I didn't have a rod at least like 5 times, I want to say, something like that. So that was really sick. Even still though, I did have fun in some of these games, and I even maxed out the rogue kit during all of this, since I was already super close when I started this video. While I haven't really seriously played Blitz in 2.5 years at this point, these games showed me that it can still be enjoyable at times, and I might come back to playing sporadically, as it looks like a lot of the issues I had with the community are gone. Even though there's still a lot of hackers, I've played a few games after these 25, and it hasn't been great. Yeah. Though, perhaps part of the reason why I enjoyed these more was because I don't take it nearly as seriously as before. I had a real problem with that back in the day, and just sort of letting that go helped me enjoy these games a lot more, even though, objectively speaking, they weren't really any better. So, I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing. But, with that being said, I don't know if I'll make a 50 games version of this. I would need to, get the motivation to play again, but we'll see if that happens. But I don't know. I might do like 25 games of MMC SG in 2026. You know, maybe we'll get a second MMC experience video going. That might have to happen. But yeah, for now, that's gonna wrap up. And I don't know what I'm gonna do next. I don't really play CCL anymore. It's certainly gone downhill. But we'll see what the future holds. And I'll see y'all later.